Hey guys, welcome back to Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. I have a lot of things to discuss news-wise. I just haven't had time to do them all. I mean, there's a list of things, but I'm going to try to get as many things done today as possible in different videos. It's Dorothea here. Thanks for joining me on this Friday afternoon, Friday, April 25th, 2025. I'm discussing here the faith of Vladimir Putin. A lot of people think there's different views on this. Some people think he has no faith. Some people think he's a faithful Orthodox Christian. And so I saw this recently, and I felt it was pretty impactful and is pretty valid and credible on the issue of Vladimir Putin's faith and his Orthodox Christian faith. I heard years ago that Putin was in a car accident years ago, I think. I don't know exactly what year, but years ago, that I believe a family members or his, I don't know if it was parents or some family members died in that terrible car accident. And what happened was it turned him to his faith he was baptized in, which was the Russian Orthodox Christian faith, which is basically the Orthodox faith. And that's why I thought, okay, so he seems to have a faith. And I'm going to play a couple of videos for you to share some thoughts on this and what this particular man says, this Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, what he says about President Putin's faith. Again, this just happened a few days back, this interview with the judge, and I'm going to share this particular part with you. Okay, so here we go.
I've never really heard of that in the modern era. European kings had that. Is Vladimir Putin a serious believing Russian member of the Russian Orthodox Church?
This is absolutely true. He has very close relations with the Patriarch Kirill. There's a great deal of mutual respect, and both of them are doing their best to be patriots. So there's a lot that binds them together. As to faith, yes, I think nobody would question today that Mr. Putin, the ex-KGB operative, so to speak, is indeed a believer.
I have a close friend who's a Roman Catholic priest in one of the very, very traditional orders, who has a close friend who's a Russian Orthodox priest, who tells my priest friend that President Putin's confessor travels with him so that wherever he is, he can go to confession. I've never really heard of that in the modern era. European kings had that 200-300 years ago. I've never heard that in the modern era. If true, and I believe it is, it's utterly remarkable. Okay, you mentioned
So I found that very, very interesting, and I'm glad I caught that interview because I never would have seen that. But we find out through Dr. Doctorow and through the judge with backup on that through his own channels, that Mr. Putin is a practicing Orthodox Christian, that he really is, his faith plays a part in his daily life. And the fact that he takes his confessor with him, the priest that he would confess to everywhere, is quite remarkable and quite amazing. I find it just amazing. And now I will tell you that with Russian Orthodox, they tend to, just the regular lay people in general, they go to confession usually once a week before Sunday when the Eucharist is served. So it's not too unusual for in Russian tradition to do this. But the fact that President Putin has the confessor with him really tells me that President Putin is mindful of his sins, his sinful actions, and wanting to be accountable for it, and to, as soon as possible, bear those sins, confess them to a confessor, a priest, and not say only do that once a year. I know there's a lot of us people lay people who don't tend to do confession very often at all. It just depends. I mean, I tend to do on average about 4 times a year, but the Greek Orthodox have this view, at least you go to confession 4 times a year, during each of the fasting periods and all that. But in any case, because I thought, okay, people could say, he's just taking this guy around for the priest, the confessor, he's just taking him around for optics. The priest is not going to be dragged around with the president for optics. I don't think if he's a real, honest and holy, a person who is a priest, would not be in cahoots with President Putin to do such a thing. So I do believe this is true, and I found that great to hear. The other thing I wanted to share with you is this thing that just happened recently, which is the Serbian Orthodox bishops meeting with His Holiness Kirill, the Russian Orthodox Patriarch. And I found it a wonderful talk. And I'm going to share that with you now so that you can get an idea of the relationship between the Serbs and the Russians if you don't know historically how that has been. So I'm going to play that. And of course, President Putin welcomes them in.
Christ greets you. Hello. The holiday? His Holiness the Serbian Patriarch. Christ is risen. Truly he is risen. Vladika Iranet. Christ is risen. Truly he is risen. Christ is risen. Truly he is risen. From the Monastery of the Resurrection. Thank you. Christ is risen. Yes, thank you. Your Holiness, allow me to warmly welcome you to Moscow. There's a special atmosphere here. We're very glad to see you. We know that the Serbian Orthodox Church makes a significant contribution to strengthening relations between our peoples, who have traditionally maintained the warmest, closest, and most trusting allied relationships. Your Holiness, welcome to Moscow. There is a special atmosphere here. We're glad to see you. We know the Serbian Orthodox Church greatly contributes to the development of Russian-Serbian bilateral relations, which are traditionally warm and close. Our common bright holiday. Our shared bright holiday. I've already said that Russian-Serbian relations always have a special character, and today as well, because we are bound by deep, strong spiritual roots. We are waiting for the President of Serbia in Moscow. We know the situation in the Balkans is difficult. We are aware of your efforts to strengthen Serbia's position, including the significance of the Serbian Church Council we held. You are always welcome here. I don't speak Russian very well, but I understand everything. Vladika Iranet is also with me. He speaks Russian very well. Thank you for receiving us. I congratulate you on Easter. Christ is risen. I hope that the resurrection is our path, a reality, a fact of our faith. That means the victory is known and depends on the will of God. We must do what depends on us. I want to thank you for everything you do on the level of values. because values are the foundation. Without values, without ideology, not in a psychological sense, but in essence, it is impossible to live. Everything depends on faith, as we believe, so we live, our words, and so on. You mentioned that historically, our churches have always had a relationship of love and cooperation, the Russian and Serbian churches. I think that is still true today. My predecessors, all Serbian patriarchs, were connected with the patriarchs of the Russian Church. My predecessor, His Holiness Patriarch Iranet, used to say, "We Serbs, as he put it, our small boat must always be tied to the great Russian ship in this stormy sea." We feel and believe this is true. I want to say, although you already know this, that the Serbian people look to the Russian people as one of their own. Sometimes, Serbian hope depends more on Russia and its policies than on our own. Maybe that's a paradox. 2 weeks ago, I was in Jerusalem and spoke with the Patriarch of Jerusalem. He didn't know I would be in Moscow, but we talked a lot about Orthodoxy globally. He told me, "We Orthodox have one trump card." I asked, "Which one?" He said, "Vladimir Putin."
Okay, I have to stop that right there because it was such a shock to hear this. Again, you get differing opinions of Mr. Putin, even from Orthodox circles and Orthodox groups. The Patriarch in Jerusalem, I forget his name, Theophilus, something like that, the third, I think. I did not know his relationship really well with Patriarch Kirill. And his views on the brother church of the Orthodox Church of Russia. But, we're all in communion together, but I was surprised to hear him say the trump card is, and I'll explain why, to some extent more of why that's important, but yeah, that's a pretty big deal there, okay? So let me go from there.
These words say everything. We thank you for your support on Kosovo, Republika Srpska, and also Montenegro. You know very well that without your support, and China's, I don't know what would happen with Kosovo. I served Easter liturgy in Pec, the patriarchal capital of the Serbian Patriarch. And we ask you to stand firm on this position and do everything possible. Because without Kosovo and Republika Srpska, the Serbian people have no future. We have very good relations with the President of Serbia. He sends his greetings and said he would be here on May 9th regardless of the situation in Europe. Our position on Kosovo, Republika Srpska, and Montenegro, we believe, depends greatly on the position of the Russian Federation at a global level. Our wish, and that of most in our church, is that in the event of future geopolitical realignments, we remain close within this Russian world. Yes, in the Russian Orthodox world. These days we too are experiencing a kind of color revolution. We hope this temptation will be overcome because we feel that forces from the West are trying to dismantle the Serbian identity and culture. Thank you for what you said. May God give you strength and wisdom. Our prayers are always with you. Your words about identity, this is exactly what the Church deals with, especially the Russian Orthodox Church under His Holiness the Patriarch of Moscow and all Russia. He puts great effort into preserving our traditional values and spiritual foundations. We always remember and speak about our Orthodox brothers in our meetings. This is the position of the Patriarch. I'm sure Your Holiness often hears about the deep respect President Putin has for you. Among all the Orthodox churches, the Serbian is closest to the Russian, in culture, language, and even history. Our countries have never fought against each other, only side by side. This love for Russians and the Russian Church is deeply embedded in Serbian culture and spirit. That's why we see you as our closest brothers. The Serbian Church is closest to us. This isn't just said because the Patriarch is sitting here, it's the truth. Historically, the Serbian people and Church never betrayed Russia. Some other Slavic nations, under Western pressure, changed their orientation, temporarily, but Serbs never did. Love for Russia is practically in the Serbian DNA. The Serbian Church faces the West more directly than we do, and yes, they've learned and gained a lot from the West in science and culture. But what is happening today with morality in the West, I'll say it plainly, it's demonic. Why? Because the goal of the devil is to erase the difference between good and evil. Where God says, this is wrong, the modern secular culture says, why not? It's freedom. But that destroys the moral foundation of human life and could lead to civilizational catastrophe. The Russian Orthodox Church stands firmly on its values and defends them internationally. And we need strong allies. That's why I'm very glad about today's meeting. Those here today, His Holiness, Vladimir Iranet, they are true spiritual leaders who love Russia. This is a spiritually uplifting moment for me. I hope this meeting brings positive outcomes for relations between our churches and our countries. Thank you for mentioning what's happening in the West. We all saw your meeting with the Pope, who passed away recently. That shows there are still spiritual forces in the West seeking reconciliation and spiritual revival. Western culture, whatever one says, is rooted in Christianity. The late Pope had strong convictions. Even though he was pressured to cool relations with the Russian Church, he once said, when pressed hard, "Don't make me quarrel with Kirill." Then he turned and left. That stayed with me. He had a kind and respectful attitude towards Russia and the Russian Church. Being Latin American, he likely felt that natural sympathy that many in Latin America feel toward Russia.
Amazing. Amazing. I found that so enlightening, so wonderful. The part where he talks about the Pope, and I appreciate that information. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negativity going on right now about Pope Francis, especially after his death, which I find very distasteful and disrespectful. And no matter what you feel about the Pope, okay, where you know there's things that we disagree with as Orthodox, and we no, he shouldn't stand on this issue like this. He should, whatever it is. Some things you agree with, some things you don't. It's not our place to judge what happens to him or what they think he did. God judges, and he will, it'll come about for whatever his fate is, and that's really none of my business. And it's different. I can talk about my own patriarchs because it's in my Christian tradition, my particular tradition of my faith, that yes, when it's in your own house, you tend to want to clean it up. So I mean, yes, there's negative things you can say about the Catholic Church, but when there's a death, someone reposes, who's a pope or hierarch or whoever, I don't think it's a good idea to be talking in such a manner. In any case, I found that was very interesting, how the Pope regarded His Holiness Kirill, which again, there are some, even in the Orthodox, especially in the Orthodox, who are not fans of Kirill. There's people who aren't fans of Bartholomew, the ecumenical patriarch, the Orthodox ecumenical patriarch in Constantinople. But when you're in a position of a patriarch, there is a huge accountability on you. And I could say the same thing about the Pope. I mean, the more you know, the more you are expected to be a better servant of Christ. And that's a big burden on a person in those positions. So I just wanted to share that. And you'll see they thanked President Putin. Again, the Serbians are thanking them because it's the Russian church that has been, and apparently China, that has been helping the Serbians through their difficult issues going on politically. And it's no different than all the other things that are going on, but in a way different in the fact that, as I've said before, the spirit of the Antichrist is here, meaning you can feel it, that evil is exposed out in the open much more. It's not hidden like it was before. It's pretty blatant. It's boastful at times. And we know that the evil one wants to destroy Christ's church. And We know the physical church of Christ Church is, for us Orthodox, is the Orthodox Church. However, there are true believers outside of the church. The Holy Spirit works wherever, and there are good, holy people, other Christians, and even people that aren't Christian. God judges you by what you know. And if you don't know and you haven't really known Christ, I don't think you can judge somebody, and I don't think God does, to the extent of somebody who knows Christ. And what do they do with their life? That's it's a big thing that we have to deal with. So it's because of the Russian, Russia is becoming much more of a superpower once again, and it's important because it's the main one that's helping all the other Orthodox churches in the world. So I wanted to tell you that, and now I'm going to give you this prophecy, which I had talked to you about a few months back, before the new year, from Father Elpathios, and I'm going to give you 2 parts on that he says specifically about Russia, and this will explain and kind of connects really well with this video I just showed you. Okay, so let me bring that up. Let me find it. I've got too many things up. Okay, here it is. I'm going to squish myself down here. He says, that's Father Elpathios there, on the right. He says, Russia will be the first of the last 3 kingdoms of this world, of the current version of this world, to be more precise. I have the sound off because it's all in Greek, but I want you to see that. And then the next portion says here, and now it has the power and the authority from God to become the Antichrist to the Antichrist. In other words, the enemy of the Antichrist against the Antichrist. This is so important. So remember that, and then I'm going to skip over here, and then you'll see what he says about this. Oop, I might have to move myself out of the way. Okay, let's see. Okay. This is important. He says, Russia is called by God, ordained by God, to destroy the American state right now. It is destined to destroy the satanic state of Europe and America, which surrendered themselves to Satan. And as you probably noticed, that's true with all the stuff that's been happening. So, again, this is why it's so important that we understand the role of Russia in the world at this time, especially for us Orthodox. It's not just the father here, Father Elpathios, has spoken this way, but many other people sharing prophecies of saints and all that do say this is how it is. And so this is why it's so important that we understand not only the historical and the political, but the spiritual in this matter of what's happening in our world. Anyway, I hope that you got something out of this video. You learned something new about Putin and the Serbian people, and just the basic understanding of that. And I am going to let you go now because I have other videos I need to do. Thanks so much for watching my videos, for following my videos. Please, if you haven't followed my video, share my videos, share my channel. If you like my videos, like them, comment below them. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.